was extremely windy. It's funny because there's always a pre-Olympics the year before. So 1987 we raced in Busan, which is about an hour's flight south of Seoul. And that year it was really light winds, so light that you couldn't really sail against the current. The current was stronger than the wind. And so a lot of people were preparing for light winds. And it was a bit of a surprise that when we got there it was really windy. So if you can imagine trying to put on weight in a hurry, it's all you can eat when you're at the Olympics. And so I remember you just get up in the morning and start eating desserts and as much food as you could and just trying to put on weight, because the more you weigh when it's windy, the faster you go. I mean, you still have to be fit, but I'm not the biggest guy in the fin class, which is the class I sailed in. Most of the guys are, 6'3", 6'4", 230 pounds, and I was only 5'10", 190. So you got to realize I have to put on a lot of weight and be as strong as possible to keep up with these guys. And back then the races are 2.5 hours long, and you could wear 20 kilos of weight on your back. So you have to be extremely fit, and I guess where I'm going with this is the wind was really strong, and between Japan and Korea there's quite a bit of current. And when the current goes against the wind, the waves get squished together and they become very steep. So instead of having a nice wave that you can ride the boat up and ride down, when they get steep they start to break. Just like you see surfers, the waves break when they hit the shallow water at shore. Well, these waves are breaking right in the middle of the race course. So all of a sudden you're sailing along and there's just a wall of water coming at you and there's not much you can do. So we try, and several times throughout the race I got swamped. A wave would hit and just fill the boat with water, and so you try to get the water out. We have bailers in the bottom, but you have to be going forward to make the bailers work, and it takes quite a bit of time. And if you have a lot of water, you start plowing into the waves, and instead of riding over them, you take more water in. But everybody was dealing with this. But what happened is the conditions got so rough that a lot of boats got into trouble, and there wasn't enough rescue boats to go around. Normally the coaches aren't allowed on the course, but on this particular day the race committee got on the radio and said, all coaches, you're allowed on the course, go rescue whoever you can. The boats that the Koreans were using for rescue boats weren't quite adequate. They were just inflatable rubber boats with no bottom on them, and the wind was blowing so strong that it was kind of laughable to watch these guys just trying to turn their boats into the wind. They couldn't, so they were pretty much useless. And so yeah, that's what led to the events of the day. In my case, what happened is I was winning the race that we were in, and we raced to markers that are 8 feet high and 3 feet wide, and they're fluorescent orange. And the waves were so big that if you weren't on top of the wave at the same time as the mark, you couldn't see it. And I was winning the race, but I couldn't find the mark. You're looking and looking, and I just happened to be on the wrong part of the wave. So I lost the lead. I ended up rounding that mark in second because the guy behind me saw it before I did, and he was able to get a better angle to it. So I was in second. I was quite confident I was going to be able to pass him back into first place, but we started what would have been the second beat, meaning when we start to go back upwind. And there was a boat turned over in the water, and it's a boat called the 470, which is a two-person boat. And only one of the crew members was on the boat. It was upside down with the centerboard sticking up in the air, and he was just holding on for dear life. But I was thinking, well, where's the other guy? And I sailed for a minute or two, and then I realized, I saw his head bobbing in the water, and realized that there's no way he could swim back to his boat. The boat's drifting faster than he could swim, and he was going to be lost at sea. I mean, if I can't see a 8-foot orange marker, we're not going to see a little dark head bobbing in the water. So I had to make the decision, do I keep going or go get him? So I decided to go get him. And that was a bit of a trick, because I sailed a single-handed boat. And with the size of the waves and the steepness of the waves and everything else, when you have two people in the boat, there's a tendency for the bow to submarine. So I managed to pull him into my boat, and I just had to get him out of my boat now. So I thought the safest place for him was back on his overturned boat. So I managed to sail back to his boat, and I was in the process of transferring him back to his original boat when my coach showed up, because he had been given permission to go on the course, and he knew that I was winning the race, and all of a sudden I'm nowhere to be found, so he came looking. So that was good, because he took over from there and rescued them, finished the rescue. So I continued on racing, and I think I ended up 23rd in that race. But then in sailing you can ask for what they call a redress. So you go in front of a jury and you explain what happened and everything else, and they decide what to do. And in that case, they actually awarded me second place points for the race. But part of the problem was after that is that it was such a distraction, because you compete and you want to get accolades for your results and whatnot. And in this case, I was inundated with press wanting to know the story and what's going on, and I have to race. And I was just thinking how ironic it was. You spend your whole life training and working and winning championships and doing things, and nobody cares. And for something that I believe anyone would have done under the same circumstances, you get all this attention.